Hello and welcome back to the Pyjama Gardeners. It's May the 30th. Much nicer weather now. We've had a few disasters along the way. We've had some freak hailstorms, and so there's been some successes and some failures. So I thought I'd just show you around the whole garden and we'll cover all of those things. But first I just want to show you the potato plants we did the other week. So those are the ones that were potted up and grown on first and then planted, and they've done really well. Those are the ones that have just gone straight in, and they're catching up, but they all need earthing up now. Onions and shallots are all doing pretty well. I've had a few that are sort of trying to go to seed. That's not really much of a problem. You can snap the flower heads out. Very tasty actually. I normally roast them with some purple sprout and broccoli, but as you can see, the purple sprout and broccoli has really come to an end, so I will take all the best bits I can and remove these plants so I can plant more stuff in. Only one of the Brussels sprouts remains. There were three. First the hail caught the two on the end when the wind blew the covers off, and then the pigeons finished them off. And then also over here, I was very sad about this for a whole week. I had some beautiful looking runner bean plants in there, and I failed to cover them up, and the hail completely obliterated them. So I've resown in the greenhouses. I say greenhouses because I've got two now. That one over there, which I'm very pleased about. That one is entirely imperial measurements, so we're calling that Her Majesty's. And this one is a European one, so this is all metric. You can see in here I've got the tomatoes in finally. They're looking rather healthy. Really important to get a really decent framework in there. And what I do is I also use ring culture, so the bottoms of these pots are cut out so that I can water around here and I can feed into the top, and this keeps the feeding roots nice and warm, so you get much better growth for your plants. These are two bush tomatoes which I'm just bringing on a bit so they can go down into the ladies' garden. It's all our salad. This is fantastic. This really is. I come out here in the morning and I fill up a sort of ice cream tub full of salad for going to work with. Lots of Mizuno. This stuff is excellent. Some cos lettuce. Lots of rocket that has overwintered really well, and in this incredibly shady spot it does try to flower, but you can keep pinching those off, and in fact they've actually been really good, and they're the same plants from about a year ago. The Komatsuna, which I'll be using for some kimchi. I'll show you that in a minute. Now, the whole planning out of a garden, a vegetable garden, can be a little bit daunting. So when you start looking at books, you'll be seeing things about groups of plants, like legumes and brassicas and crop rotation, that sort of thing, companion planting. But from experience, crop rotation isn't really necessary. You can grow the same thing in the same place over and over again, as long as you replenish the nutrients in the soil. Although there are benefits to, say, peas, the legume family, beans and peas, they all produce nitrogen on their little nodes on their roots, which in a form called ammonium. So when you dig them up or cut the tops off, you let the roots rot down, and if you plant brassicas in their place, which are high nitrogen feeders, they're going to grow really well. But I haven't got a massive space like I used to, and this is only my second year with here. So the key thing for planning anything you're growing is what the actual end game is going to be. So you can grow for gluts. I've got lots and lots of onions and shallots, that sort of thing. But here's an example of how to plan. So there's 10 cabbages. Why have I grown 10 cabbages? Because I'm going to make kimchi with those cabbages. That's the plan for them. The broad beans will be frozen, the onions will be dried and hung. Over here I'm growing, just for a bit of fun really, some kohlrabi. I don't even know if I've eaten kohlrabi before, but thought we'd have a go. Lots of beetroots, and I've got some more which I will be planting out as well. More onions, but these are grown from seed. And in this area, chard and kale. And this is a good example of companion planting. These plants grow very well together. That one in the middle, I'm not very happy about that. So I'm probably going to pot him up and use him as a spare, and then move the one remaining Brussels sprout into there. Now, here's where planning things does help. I had a whole load of pak choy, which I love pak choy. I love doing a lot of stir fries and Asian cooking. Unfortunately, I couldn't make stir fries fast enough. And with the warm weather that sort of hit us, all of this lovely, what really did look like proper pak choy plants, it all gone and flowered. But all is not lost. So seeing as I like my kimchi, that's why I showed you the komatsuna out the front. I take all the good leaves off of this, mix it with some komatsuna and make some kimchi out of that. So inside the second greenhouse, the new one, Her Majesty's greenhouse. Lots of chilies, all sorts of different chilies and peppers. Some delphiniums back there which were gifted to me by the very lovely Joss. Celeriac gifted to me by the very lovely Jamie. That will be going in where the bolted pak choy is. Whole load of red kiri squashes. Some of these are for customers, some to sell. A couple are going to grow over at an arch we've put in out there. Tromboncinos. Oh, look at these. These are these lovely pots from the lady Birdie Hayward in the village. She's an amazing artist, and she made these. I'm going to use these to put my Sarracenas in, or a couple of them anyway. Some interesting stuff up here. This is an African basil, which absolutely really smells gorgeous. I can't wait to try that one. And I've got lots of leeks here, which I'm going to show you something. Now with leeks, as far as I can work out, there are 4 different ways of growing leeks. The first is pretty obvious, that's direct sowing. You can do that in 2 different ways. You can either pull a little trench and sow into the trench, or you can do what is called station sowing, which is quite a useful technique, which is basically where you just dib a hole and sow into that hole. And that's quite useful if you want to sort of fill in blocks and things, like I'm probably going to do with the chard and the kale that's over there. I'm going to put little clumps of radish in amongst them all because they're quite quick cropping. The second way of growing leeks is to use a multi-cell tray and do 3 or 4 into each, so that you end up with like a nice little clump that you can plant out as a little clump, and they grow particularly well actually together. Then there are 2 other ways, French and English. Now, one of the lovely things about leeks is that they separate really beautifully. So if you've multi-sowed them into a pot like I have, you can tease these apart, and they come apart really easily. In fact, in French markets they actually sell them in little bunches already like this, a little bit bigger than this. These are a little bit young, and they sell them in the market so that you can take them home and plant them on, a little bit like how you might do wallflowers and that sort of thing. Now, what the French do, what they like to do, is they make a trench like that, and then they will lay them to the side of the trench like that, and then fill back in. That's the French way. Now the English way, which is what I've always done, and it's the way that I prefer, is you dip a hole, and it wants to be sort of about a hand apart, and you basically plunk your leek into there with the top just poking out, and you fill that with water. And then what happens is the soil slowly kind of comes in around there, and that whole part of the stem will end up white. Now, show growers, in order to get like really big, tall leeks, will grow them pretty much individually. And what they actually do is they wrap newspaper, or what's commonly used now is some of that insulation stuff you get on plumbers, on the pipes that plumbers use, that grey stuff. And you can wrap that around the base of your plant as well, and put a couple of pea sticks up to hold the leaves up out of the way. And that's the way they do the great big ones for show. Now the great thing about that, when you water, you can see the roots get dragged down and the soil wash down around them. Now, you don't fill these holes back in, you just let it naturally occur. They will actually start to fill up the hole themselves. And this is what gives you that nice little white stem on the bottom. Now, something to bear in mind with immature little plants like this, and also if you grow from seed, is that rabbits absolutely love the baby tops. Once the leek is matured, then you don't really have many problems at all. There is a particular type of moth which I haven't actually had any problems with, but apparently they can be a bit of a pain. The other cool thing about leeks is, once they're mature, if you're not going through them fast enough, in the same way I couldn't go through my pak choy fast enough, you can, in order to stop them from going to seed, you take the mature plant, you lift it, and then just replant it somewhere else. And what will happen is the plant will you get kind of confused and it won't know what to do, so it will sort of slow down its growth and go into a suspended state of animation. And you've got about a month or two to be able to use that leek, and it will stay fresh in the ground. There you go, that's how you do the English method. So that's 4 different ways of growing leeks. I'm going to get back on with my kimchi making. I've got to do the purple brown broccoli, got to move that plant. Otherwise the weather has improved and I'm feeling a lot more confident. So any questions, please in the comments below. Find me on Instagram, Facebook, all that malarkey. Have fun growing.